All right, guys. Today I wanted to talk about the disc sander. So I was turned on to the disc sander a while ago by Ailey Knives. He's got a wonderful YouTube channel. You guys should check it out. He's much more the expert than I am. Basically using the disc sander for flattening the bevels of your knife and stuff like that after you're grinding it. It's great, saves so much time, gets rid of all the hand sanding. Check out his videos on that. But when I wanted to make one, I kind of was looking around online and there wasn't really a lot out there for what I was looking for. So he's got a really sweet setup, and a lot of guys have a sweet setup where they've got a nice 3-phase motor. They could run a VFD, change the speeds, get it to go in opposite directions, all that good stuff. And unfortunately I just didn't have the money for that kind of thing. So I wanted to go ahead and put something together myself for as budget friendly as possible. And so I want to just kind of show you how I did that. So first, the disc. You've got two choices when it comes to the disc. You have a flat disc or you have a 1-degree bevel. So I went with the 1-degree bevel disc. Basically, it allows you to basically grind larger knives. So when you're grinding, we know that it's spinning around this axis here. So once you get to that point, if it's flat, when you cross over, so if the disc is moving in this direction here, so we want it moving in this direction when we're grinding, when we get past that point, it's going to be kicking it in your face. But with the 1-degree bevel, there's actually a gap. So once we reach this point, the blade is actually slightly in the air. So I recommend the 1-degree bevel. That's what he recommended. I followed it, and I've loved it. As far as the motor, I just went with a single-phase motor from Harbor Freight. I went as cheap as possible on that. It's a 1-horsepower motor, and since it's single-phase, you can't really run a VFD, so you can't control the speed and all of that good stuff. So you don't want to get something that is going to be spinning at 3,600 RPM. So I'll put the link in the description for the one that I got. It's what is it, 1,800 or something like that? Yeah, 1,800 RPMs, which has worked fine for me. I just keep a dunk bucket next to me, and it's never been really too fast. Would I like to be able to slow it down a little bit more? Yeah, probably, but this is serving me fine, and I really have no regrets on it. So the 1 horse, and then basically at that point, these can be wired to run either clockwise or counterclockwise. So it's actually viewed as clockwise and counterclockwise from the reverse of the motor. So this direction here would be clockwise, and this one would be counterclockwise. So you're viewing it from this angle here. And so you can wire it to run either direction, and the wiring instructions will tell you how to do that. But with the knife making, you want to be able to have it going both ways, right? So when you're grinding one side of the bevels, you want it to be basically coming down onto the sharp edge of the knife. And then when you switch to the other side of the knife, you need to be able to flip it, and you want it to be able to spin it the other direction. And you don't want to have to take the whole thing apart and rewire it every single time. So the answer is a drum switch. You want to get a drum switch. And so the drum switch is really cheap. You can get them on Amazon for a few bucks. I'll put the link for the one that I got as well. But then once I got it, it doesn't come with any directions. It's just, there's a few little markings in Chinese on the front side, and just was kind of trial and error trying to figure out how it worked. And so I was looking around online, and there are some wiring diagrams for it, but actually understanding how to put it all together was a little tricky. So I thought I'd make a little explanation on how I went about doing it. Maybe it'll save you guys a little bit of time. So let's bring the camera in a little closer. We'll take a look at what I did. All right, so first off, I just wanted to kind of show what's going on with the drum switch, how it actually works. Basically, we have the toggle here, and when you toggle this thing off and on, there are little copper terminals that rise up and down on the inside. And so if we flip to this side, you can see that there's some contacts there. So when I flip it forward, we can see that this one is now in contact. It's connecting this terminal to this terminal. And we can see that this one is up here, so it's connecting this one to this one. And the very last one is up as well, connecting it to here. In addition to that, we also have some connectors on the back side here So, or it might be easier to see from this side. You've got little bridges here. So when this one's connected over here, you're also connecting this one, right? These are linked, and we've got some linking here, etc. So when we flip the drum to the other side, it's gonna alternate which ones are up and which ones are down. So we've got some gaps now. So when you go to wire it, the wiring diagram is actually inside of the cap here. I went ahead and wrote it out on a piece of paper here so that we can see it a little bit easier. So this is what is inside of the little cap, and you would wire it in this direction for counterclockwise, and then you would wire it this way, connecting these different wires for clockwise. In addition to this, you're going to need to buy some type of power cord. So you can get those once again on Amazon for super cheap. And you'll get your power cord, and then you'll have all of these wires basically are sticking out of the motor, and then you're going to need to wire them to L1, which is basically going to go to the power from the wall, right? So from your power cord, and then L2 is the neutral, which is basically going to be your white. Okay, so that's what all of this stuff here is. So as far as getting your motor wired up, this is easy. Trying to figure out which terminals on the drum switch all matched up to get all this working was a little bit different story for me. Sorry, the light's a little funky here. So basically the way that I went about doing this is I just kept flipping the switch back and forth, lots and lots, and I've got a little diagram here so we can see how I drew it. So these are the numbers that come inside of the drum switch. The model you get might be numbered a little bit different, but and then with the shaded lines, these are the ones that we've got a little bridge between. So when 3 is connected here across, you're also going to be connecting 5, etc., etc. So we've got connections, a bridge between these, a bridge between these, a bridge between 4 and the last one, and then a bridge between here. So in order to get these different combinations, basically we've got to get the wires from the motor over into here. So I started with the power cord, and from the power cord I ran the black wire directly into the drum switch. And so remember that all of these things are going to have to be coming in. You've got a couple of little knockouts on the back side here, and then you've got a knockout in the bottom of the motor housing here. And I'm routing all of these things through there, but I didn't do that in the drawing because it gets a little cluttered. So when we're going to work through this, you're going to know that you're going to have to all be going down through here. It gets a little tight, and then you're going to basically have to come in through the backside. You've got 2 knockouts over here. So with that being said, this is exactly what I'm doing. All of these would also be coming from 1 point, 2, 3, P1, right? They're all sort of linked together. So you've just got to fish around. The wires are actually really clearly marked. When you look at them, you can see that there are, let me see if I can get something turned that we can see pretty easily. Yeah, see, if I'll get into view here. So we can see that we got a T4 and a T8 showing there, stuff like that. So when we come back over here, basically what I did is I took the T4 and the T2. So when we look at our wiring diagram here, the key is you'll see that we have some things that are constant, right? So the P1 and the L1, these are always going to go together no matter which direction you're going. And you're going to see that the P2 and the T3 are always going together no matter what the direction is, 2 and 3. And then the same with 2 and 4. They're always together. What's really happening to switch our direction here is the T5 and the T8 are switching. All right, so T5 and T8 are switching. So when we're doing this, it's going to be a lot easier to run all of our wires through to the drum switch if we just run like a jumper, right? So this little lug down in here is going to get really, really thick and heavy. So what I did is I took the 2 and the 4, and I threw a wire nut on them, and then I just took another piece of separate black wire, and I threw that into the wire nut. So instead of having to run 2 wires through there, I just had to run 1. So I'm just running a jumper over to there. And so I did the same thing with the 2 and the 3. I went ahead and I just put them in a wire nut with one single coming out of there, and I ran that all the way over here to the 4. And then the P1, nothing on that one, so we're leaving that one separate. That one's coming all the way down here. And then we've got the T5 coming over, and so you could just keep following all of these different things. The green wire, that's our ground. That's going to come all the way in. There's a green colored bolt that's right on the back side here that you'll just wire it into that so that we get it nice and grounded. And then you will be basically flipping them whichever way. So when we're switched, so for example, if we've got the switch to the left, so for over here for this one, when my switch is turned this way, I'm going to be running counterclockwise. And so when you look at the terminals inside, you'll basically see that 1 and 2 are connected. And so 1 and 2 are basically our power. So that's the black from our power cord is running to this. So we're getting power to the motor. And then we'll see that 3 and 6 are going to be in contact. So we can see that 3 is going to be our T8, right? And so we've got it here, T8 and 6. It was 3 and 6. So we've got 2, 4, and 8 all connected. So no matter which way you've got it switched, we've got the right terminals in contact. Sometimes it's not direct, sometimes it's running through these little bridges, but it works out perfect. So that's how you would wire up your drum switch, and that is how you can have a very cheap disc sander. So a disc sander, a 1-horse disc sander with a beveled disc for a few $100s. I would say probably at this point, I was looking online that the price of these discs has gone up quite a bit. I bought mine for $100, but I think that they're around like 150 now. And then this was like 150 bucks, and then this, I don't know, this was like 10 bucks or something like that. The power cord was just a couple of bucks as well. So the main price will be these two things, and then the other electronics are pretty simple, pretty cheap.